Another round 3 game. This one is Theodosios versus Siberian. Siberian playing as Oberkommando West. Theodosios playing as U.S. Forces. So wow, U.S. Forces is crazy popular on this map for some reason. And we're seeing it a lot more than I thought we would. In fact, the exact opposite of what I predicted is happening. We saw no U.S. Forces in rounds 1 and 2. We're seeing a bunch of U.S. Forces in round 3. I thought we were going to see a ton of U.S. Forces in rounds 1 and 2 and see it disappear in round 3, so clearly I had no idea what I was talking about. Awesome to see all those U.S. forces play. We have rear echelon troops making their way towards the strategic point down here, and they're about to encounter a Kuba wagon as they make their way towards the fuel. The SWS half-track is over here as well, but it looks like he's not going to utilize that to push. Kuba wagon will suppress those rear echelon troops, and they will be forced to retreat before they can capture that point. Riflemen are going to grab the strategic point here in the north, and a second rifle squad has hit the field. It's making its way towards the center as well. Stern Pioneers are building a reinforced steel barricade right off the bat here to prevent harassment through this angle of attack of the fuel, but we will note that there is a door on this side of the building and a door on this side of the building. It looks like you can still enter and exit the building from this area, so because he didn't quite barricade off the door. He almost did, but he didn't quite manage that. So they will still be able to go through the house, but they won't be able to just simply walk through here, and as long as the Stern Pioneers occupy the house, this fuel will remain quite secure. This Kuba wagon is making its way back over towards this side to prevent pushes by these riflemen, the SWS half-track not being utilized in the opening engagements. As we can see here, the Stern Pioneers are trying to engage those riflemen cost-effectively by utilizing shot blockers here, but it's not really working. Stern Pioneers now taking up a position in the house again, but they're taking heavy damage. The riflemen bleeding them quite hard. No model is lost on the riflemen yet, and the Kuba wagon can't seem to get in position to fire on those riflemen either. As far as Oberkommando West map control, Folks Grenadiers are making their way back towards the center. These Folks Grenadiers are going to grab some strategic point over here on the right. The riflemen haven't been really used to capture territory at all as they're being used in these opening engagements, but the rear echelon troops have been sent back down to the left side fuel. Fresh squad of riflemen is grabbing the strategic point on its way to support in this engagement. Riflemen taking up a position in green cover on the VP should be able to win against those Folks Grenadiers despite being wounded, I think. I don't know, maybe they'll start dropping models a little too quickly here. That range is a little bit long and they are in yellow cover. Stern Pioneers will close in and seal the engagement for those riflemen easily. For the Oberkommando West easily. This squad of riflemen now has to think twice about closing the gap on Sib's squads. Instead, he's going to pull back and simply take that munitions. We also have harassment here of the strategic point. Axis also going to move down here towards the fuel, harass that. Rear echelon troops won't be able to do much against those Folks Grenadiers without utilizing volley fire. More Folks Grenadiers hitting the field, moving down towards that strategic point. These Stern Pioneers will grab the strategic point there in the north.
Ready weapons. Target captured. No enemy contact.
Kuba wagon not being used particularly aggressively here. We do have another mechanized regiment start. I'm honestly really surprised by these mechanized regiment starts. I honestly don't think they work that well. But Alexander did that in my last video and he won, so who am I to judge? Folks Grenadiers are forcing those rear echelon troops away. Dealing quite a bit of damage there. They should be able to make it away just fine. Riflemen will get suppressed by the Kuba wagon, but a flanking squad forces the Kuba to reposition. Stern Pioneers are moving up to support now. Sib has 50 fuel, so he's quite some time away from being able to get his Puma, if that's what he's attempting to get. Meanwhile, we do have a lieutenant on the field engaging the Folks Grenadiers in this house, and a utility car will be hitting the battlefield very soon.
Secure! Point secure! Area secured! God damn it!
M20, ready for action.
Over here! Ready! Target that infantry! here are on the line.
Lieutenant firing on the Volksgrenadiers in this building. I think that those Volksgrenadiers will be forced out. They're taking heavy damage. Meanwhile, the utility car is planting a mine here in the north. Sib will have the fuel for a Puma very soon. He does have fuel transfer on, trying to get that Puma out even as fast as possible. And there it is. In production now. Volksgrenadiers making their way up to the front lines. Sib may lose that full squad of Volksgrenadiers. Are taking heavy damage. He's just not watching it, I think. And there it goes. Full squad of Volksgrenadiers does go down. The M20, meanwhile, finds the Kuba wagon, and it goes down as well. Sib now in a pretty nasty position, losing a full squad of Volksgrenadiers and his Kuba before his Puma could hit the field. Needed to pay a little bit more attention to those Volksgrenadiers in that house, but that being said, he has successfully harassed the south fuel point. I am reading the chat, and I'm not going to abort it because I don't understand why I would do that. Why would I do that? I want to cast this game. I already cast Honey Nuts once. I will cast game 2 of Honey Nuts vs. Jezelyn. Puma moving up here towards the center. And it is going to do some damage, some light damage to those rear echelon troops. Firing with the coaxial machine gun. Does pretty okay damage to that lieutenant. And it will be forced to retreat as well. Meanwhile, over here, the M20 is wreaking havoc on all of this infantry. Sib will be forced to retreat again. He doesn't have any Panzerschrecks here, having spent a lot of munitions on his fuel transfer, which he still has active, by the way. Which means he'll be relying very heavily on this Puma for anti-tank, since he won't be able to afford very many Panzerschrecks. Ooh, sniped a rifleman model there. Sniped another one, wow. No commander selection from Theodosios yet. Almost wondering if he's going to go for Armor Company 2. I hope not, because it's clearly horribly ineffective. Actually, no, that's not true. We've seen it win once. Although, we didn't utilize any of its features in the game, so. Puma continuing to harass these infantry. They have no way of even really damaging that. MG-34 has been called in as well.
Enemy attacking! Mission accomplished.
Fuel transfer still on. There is an AA half-track on the field. That seems like a really weird purchase when there's a Puma on the field. He must be really hoping that that Puma is going to hit this mine. He seems to be doing everything in his power to convince that Puma to drive over it, but Sib's just not falling for it. Puma fires, but misses the A half-track, which is actually getting closer. What is it thinking? Puma's just kiting it, and it gets a free Vet 1 out of that. There's another anti-tank mine right there, and Sib does have a minesweeper now. He's going to have to be very careful with his Puma. He absolutely can't afford to lose it. A lot of cat and mouse happening between these light vehicles this game.
Capture complete. No enemy activity. Taking fire! Enemy crossfire! Grenadiers ready.
Theodosios sends a few squads to the south and easily forces away those Volksgrenadiers. The Puma, meanwhile, has been fully repaired, as has the AA half-track. And map control remains firmly in Sib's hands. Theodosios doesn't make some kind of amazing play soon. His situation is only going to get more difficult. He has gone airborne, and we will see paratroopers hitting the field, as well as an LMG upgrade for that squad. Theodosios will also be 4 command points soon, potentially giving him access to AT guns. Oh no! Nice shot by that Puma on the AA half-track. It could go down here. There it goes. Horrible, horrible, horrible play by that AA half-track. It was just a pathing nightmare. I guess I don't know what that was. And that was it. Sib has purchased one Panzerschreck. Again, his Panzerschrecks are very precious because he has still got fuel transfer on this entire time, he has just no munitions at all, making his Puma just that much more critical to use absolutely perfectly. Fortunately for him, his opponent made an awful mistake with that AA half-track, just throwing it away. And I've always said that the AA half-track, despite being a really powerful weapon, is just too hard to micro properly because of its weird pathing issues, how it always has to fire backwards and everything. I just find it really unreliable, and that is a perfect example of that right there. Meanwhile, this lieutenant trying to wipe that Volksgrenadier squad, bringing it down to one model, but it does retreat after successfully capturing the fuel point, and this is now a Vet 2 Puma, which means that it is well on its way to becoming an extremely annoying thorn in the American player's side, and he's going to be praying more and more for that thing to hit one of these mines, making, of course, Sib's Minesweeper an extremely high threat that he will probably want to take out at his earliest possible opportunity. The M20 continues to defend this north area. Riflemen, however, taking heavy damage in this house, will probably be forced to evacuate soon. We also have a push over here by these paratroopers in green cover. Their LMGs should enable them to force the Volksgrenadiers out of this building. Reinforcement happening here, and we have got a paradropped AT gun. We'll probably also see a Major in the near future. Theodosios has the fuel for a Sherman probably within the next 2 or 3 minutes. Depending on his fuel control, he will need to get a fuel point back under his control, if at all possible. And it looks like that could happen. Lieutenant making his way up to assault this position. LMG paratroopers forcing those folks out of the building. These folks are also quite heavily wounded. That being said, Siberian has purchased his Tier 4 structure, and he's probably going to be fielding some Obersoldaten very soon. He's also gone with Fortifications Doctrine, which is an extremely popular commander for Ukraine West this patch. So
the enemy has cut our supply chain. A resource sector has been isolated.
things are looking pretty bleak for the American now that he's lost his AA half-track. And he hasn't really made any impressive pushes or squad wipes. He did get an early squad wipe on some Volksgrenadiers, but... and he got the Kuba wagon, but he wasn't really able to capitalize on that early advantage that it provided him. He still has fuel transfer active, so again, the one weakness Sib really has right now is he has just absolutely no munitions. Only one Panzerschreck, very little in the AT department. He does, of course, have a Raketenwerfer now. It's not all that effective. So if Theodosios were to rush a Sherman out, could potentially, or a Jackson in fact, he could potentially have a pretty dramatic impact with that. Puma is going to try to take out the M20 here. Again, desperate attempt at baiting it over that mine, but it's playing very defensively. There is an AT gun on the field, gets a nice shot off on it there. He was trying to close the gap and get an AT grenade, but he couldn't quite get in range. Meanwhile, that MG-34 is getting focused down by the LMG paratroopers, and it will be forced to retreat here in the south. This rifleman squad may win this. It could be very close. Oh, he simply opted to retreat there. I think he could have won that. Those squads were both very very low.
Supply half-track is in action. Standing by for setting of command post.
And the Obersoldaten are finally here.
Contact! Small arms fire! Continue with rocket fire!
continuing to harass infantry freely here. The AT gun is making its way up, but there are Volksgrenadiers in this house, and Obersoldaten protecting their flank. Probably going to do massive damage to these riflemen in red cover. Taking tons of losses, and the Obersoldaten have yet to even really take damage. The rear echelon troops will be soon to follow. These riflemen are not doing a whole lot to the Volksgrenadiers in the building because Theodosios still has not teched to grenades. The M20 is making its way to the front lines, but sadly, it's not going too well. Grenade going out, that could be devastating! Oh, unfortunately, he just barely made it clear of the blast. For a second I thought we were going to see 2 squad wipes right there. Stern Pioneers getting close to those 2 guys, or that rifleman squad. They're going to be forced to retreat. Puma pops smoke to get clear of the AT gun, which has set it up using attack ground, but that Puma is long gone. Some reinforcement happening here in the base, and the paratroopers are finally gaining a little traction. Pushing away all of these infantry. We might see another grenade here. There it goes, flushing those Volksgrenadiers out of cover, dealing massive damage to them, possibly wiping them out of retreat, and there they go. That is a big win for Theodosios because, again, that was his only Panzerschreck squad, and Sib has no munitions at all. He just spent a bunch of munitions on something. I don't know. He only has 25 right now. I don't know what he did. Maybe he planted a mine or something somewhere. I missed whatever it was. Jackson on the field. Definitely a good purchase. It's way too late in the game to be purchasing a Sherman. He kind of needs a Sherman to help him deal with these overs, but again, he really wants to take out that Puma. Jackson shot misses the Puma there. Meanwhile, the Obersoldaten are dealing massive damage to those riflemen. They will be forced to retreat. These paratroopers are falling rather low as well. If his retreat path gets cut off and he loses that squad, he'll be in a horrible position. He really needs to retreat right now. There they go. They are going to take fire from Obersoldaten on the retreat. Falling very low. LMG-34 is focusing them down. No, there they go. He should have retreated that LMG squad so much earlier, and he probably even should have soft retreated to take a safer retreat path. That was not a loss he could afford to sustain. Raketenwerfer being set up here to fire on that Jackson.
Artillery batteries are armed and ready to fire.
And this defensive line that Siberian has set up is proving extremely difficult for Theodosios to punch through. He does successfully harass this strategic point with the rear echelon troops, riflemen moving up to push away the Volksgrenadiers. There's an MG-34 blocking pushes from this direction. What happened? The M20 just went down to the Puma, which successfully located it there in the north, and we will also note this M20 mine is still there, but this M20 mine successfully got swept up by the minesweeper. Nice play by Sib, sweeping up that mine, allowing his Puma to have an angle of attack through the north, taking out that M20. And there is now a Panther on the field. Things are looking awful for the American at this point. He's going to have to just work a miracle if he's going to stand any chance of winning this game. Even after bringing in the Panther, he leaves fuel transfer on. He must be thinking of playing the really long game and now going for a King Tiger or something. He still seems to have no interest in Panzerschrecks. He just doesn't need them at this point. He's taken out all of his opponent's light vehicles. That Jackson went down without even a second thought to the Panther and Puma, and Theodosios knows that the game is over. Well played by Siberian. GG.